Hi, my name is Ashley Watt, and this is my Module 5 assignment about understanding the community that I teach in. I am still in my first year of being the College and Career Readiness Director at Cheney Schools in Cheney, Kansas. I spent 9 years before that in a school that's about half of the size. And so you'll see throughout this presentation, I'll probably compare the two quite a bit because I understand more about the community I used to be in, and I'm still learning here, so this assignment actually provided me an interesting way to get to know Cheney better, especially because I don't live there. I live about 20 minutes away. So if we look at population characteristics, there are a little over 2,000 people in Cheney. The thing that surprised me the most about this is that the median age is 38. If you look at other communities that are similar size, rural and agrarian, like Cheney is, the median age is probably about double that, more like 65 and 70. So that was a big surprise. And then, so it's a really young community, which is kind of an interesting thing to see, especially in Kansas. 48% of the families have children under 18. 65% of the population has completed some form of post-secondary education. When looking at the school, USD 268 is in the 3A class in Kansas. Elementary has about 400 students, which is about 16 to 1 student to teacher ratio. The middle school, which serves 6th through 8th graders, has 190 students. High school has 240. The middle school and high school both have a student to teacher ratio of about 11 to 1. I think the biggest difference that I've seen between where I used to work and Cheney is that Cheney is actually a pretty affluent community. When you look at the income per capita, they're over 10% over the Kansas and national average. Their poverty level is 6, which is 60% less than the national average. Unemployment rate is 1.7%. It's just really a different area than what I'm used to. I came from a place that had 75% free and reduced lunch. So it is something that is pretty unique, and I think it offers you'll see later in the presentation, maybe some weakness when it comes to talking about diversity and cultures. To talk a little bit about the customs and traditions, again, I'm still learning a lot about this, but Cheney was founded in 1884, located 20 miles west of Wichita, so you could be almost anywhere in Wichita in an hour. The traditions that I've gotten to know at Cheney, they have a very powerful athletics department, and I think a lot of that you'll see kind of tied to some of what Cheney offers as a community. Athletic events are well attended by not only families but community members. We have multiple teams that go to state per year. So athletics is a really big thing. They take a lot of pride in their facilities. So their schools, their grounds are really nice. All of their athletic facilities are very, very nice. From what I know, like homecomings are natural. There's a prom, which I didn't get to experience this year, of course. They have a big school orientation at the beginning of the year that is an evening that parents and students come out, learn about the schedule, and meet their teachers. And then that night, they also get their technology. There is a one-to-one technology initiative from 5th grade on. 5th graders keep their Chromebooks in their classrooms. Middle schoolers get to take Chromebooks home, and high schoolers are one-to-one MacBook Pro. And I think this initiative has put us leaps and bounds ahead of other districts because of the situation we're currently in with having the school building closed. So it's been a big benefit for our students, and it was really great that they chose to invest in that in the last couple of years. Businesses, there's restaurants, there's actually 2 gyms in town. There's a handful of other restaurants, other businesses, a small grocery store, Dollar General. There's farmers co-op and several businesses that are related to farming itself. There is a pretty large car dealership here, and there's a Golden Age home, which is the senior living facility. And our students, it's right across from our school. Our students do a lot of work. Elementary go and do stuff with them. I have a lot of CNA students that go over and work with them as well. So that's pretty unique because it's so close and we get to work with them. Thinking of the community customs and traditions, I link it back to, I feel like it's a community that can be very active. There are a lot of things to do. I think it's pretty rare that we're very close to being in Kingman County, but we're still in Sedgwick. And so they actually host the Sedgwick County Fair, which is kind of odd because usually the county seat hosts it, which would be Wichita. So every July, Cheney hosts the Sedgwick County Fair. Cheney Lake is a big recreational lake that people can use and take advantage of that during the summer months. Cherry Oaks is a golf course, and Mario's is a bowling alley. I think those two things provide something unique for our students because a lot of school districts our size don't have an opportunity to have a bowling or a golf team. Cheney Recreation, this is something from a very early age. Cheney Recreation is very, very active. They get kids as young as 4 in to be on all sorts of athletic teams and work with other communities to get them together. So they encourage being active very early on in life. And I think you can see that trickle down effect into that tradition following all the way into high school of having really importance in athletics and very athletic kids. They have Souders Museum, which is just a historical museum outside of town. And every year they have singing Christmas trees. Communication channels for Cheney, and then more specifically the school itself. We are close enough to Wichita that radio and television are through Wichita stations. We have a district website. It's changed in the last year, but it's become very important to us now because that's where all of the families can access their information. Teachers have their own learning platforms. Majority of our teachers use Google Classroom. We have a handful that use LiveBinder, and elementary uses Seesaw. Social media is very important as well. We have, a very active Facebook account, Twitter. I don't know that there's as much following on Instagram, but we use social media quite a bit. We have an all-call system, so if you give your phone number when you enroll, you give your phone number, it will text you with like school-wide closings or announcements, and then it also has the option to call and leave a message. I think an important way of communication is a teacher connection that we have because we have such a low student-to-teacher ratio. There are a lot of personal relationships that are built, so there's a lot of communicating that goes on that way. And I think being a smaller community as well, parents and teachers are friends, and so the communication channels are kind of open that way. Something unique that we have that is specifically for students is called Impero, and it is an anonymous thing that is on your computer, and you click it, and whatever you write in there goes to the counselor. So this is kind of an interesting communication channel, usually for social emotional stuff, bullying. So it's pretty interesting that I had never seen something like that until I came here. Community groups, there is a very active Chamber of Commerce. Religious groups, there's a number of those. Recreation committee, which I already talked about. Several 4-H clubs. There's an active chapter of Relay for Life. The one that I think raises the most in Sedgwick County is in Cheney. There's all sorts of school clubs and activities. Kids have a wide range of things they can participate in. And we have Cardinal Club, which is the parent booster organization, and they do an incredible job of getting people in to participate, raising money for activities, providing meals, providing athletic wear or spirit wear, things along those lines. They do a really nice job of that. Leadership and leadership characteristics. As in a lot of small towns, I feel that the leaders tend to be the same people. So if you're a business leader, you're probably a city leader. If you're a school leader, you're probably a city leader. Religious leaders tend to be city leaders. So it kind of all groups together. And so it is very important that you open lines of communication, understand who people are, what they're involved in, and these are the people that create and enforce policy. And so I know there's not a whole lot on this slide, but it just tends to be the same sort of people. And they're people that have a lot of history in the community usually. So that is something to think about as well. We have a lot of teachers and administrators that grew up and went to school in Cheney. Economic conditions. I look at the Kansas Economic Report Summary, and we are in the local area 4, which lumps us in with 3 or 4 other South Central Kansas counties. Manufacturing is the highest paying job. There was an increase in jobs and growth in 11 major industries from 2017 to 18. I know those numbers are probably skewed right now. It'll be really interesting to see what it continues to do. Cheney is very unique in its location. Being so close to Wichita, there are a lot of families who live here, work in Wichita, or commute, and we are pretty close to several other large communities that have industries. There are local businesses also that work directly with industries in Wichita. So economically, Cheney is probably advanced compared to most others their size. The average wage of the Kansas local area 4 is $35,000 per household. Cheney is double that. So you can kind of see where that big chunk of difference is. Extra sources of information. We use school records and data gathered, all sorts of formative, summative data, CTE information, graduation rates. We survey our students constantly in our seminar classes. City-wise, there's a city website. There's a library that you can go to, I think is pretty unique for a town that size. The census, of course, is coming up. And one to talk about, I have heard to stay away from it, but it's called Cheney Chat, and it is on Facebook just because it's come more of a gripe place than helpful. All of our school board meetings are public, and all the school board minutes are made public as well. We have a council administrator form of government. So our mayor is elected and can serve 2 years. Now they can serve multiple terms, but city council members serve 4 years. There's a city manager that is hired. We have a very active police department and very active chamber, and all of those people have worked together to get collaborative grants that work with the school to improve the school on safety and things along those lines. So that is something very impressive to me. Multicultural issues and social tensions. I think that this is something that I've seen. It's an area that is a weakness because you'll see below there are 98% English speaking. There is very little ethnic diversity. In town, with the low poverty level, you don't see a whole lot of socioeconomic difference or culture difference. The little bit we have, though, providing them technology helps with that. I think something that you see a big part of, and that I've learned that and seen a little bit of, is that the religious differences are a lot. They divide communities in this area, make rivalries. When you start to take apart rivalries, it comes down to religious groups. There was even like just hearing stories, the city line of Cheney was drawn between kind of zigzag through houses depending on if this person was a part of this church or a part of this church. So to be completely honest, I think any social tensions really relate back to religious. I just think that overall this could be a weakness in our school because our students will leave here not that they can't feel empathy for those people, but not having an opportunity to know a whole lot about just the vast differences in cultures. Something that kind of made me think of that is actually we had a group of pipeliners that are doing the big American pipeline. We're stationed kind of around Cheney, and some cars were getting stolen, and so people automatically blame them because they were outsiders. So to me, that kind of showed that there are tensions. If you're an outsider to Cheney, it may be a little hard to break in there. To talk about our power structure, and everybody that I'm going to talk about on this slide serves the community in a leadership capacity in some other way. So school board members, it's a representative group that's elected. The superintendent, what I've been a part of, the superintendent, school board members, everybody for the most part gets along on decisions, and it's usually pretty copacetic. Each elementary, middle, and high school all have their own principals. There is an athletic director that serves both the high school and middle school and serves as the vice principal. There is a district leadership team, which is comprised of the superintendent, the principals, AD, and a couple other director heads of some other departments. Each building has a building leadership team that is made up of representative groups from either different age groups or content areas, and those are rotating groups. So they'll serve for 2 or 3 years at a time and then be rotated out. Measuring public opinion, we're a small community, so that makes it easy to see where if issues arise, a lot of people talk, people will bend the teachers' ears, and the teachers really are not afraid to come and voice those opinions to others. I think something that's kind of benefited is having student-led conferences, and though that is obviously very student-specific, you've seen a rise in conference attendance from 30 to 40% of families coming to over 90% of families. So this is a really unique opportunity to measure public opinion during those student-led conferences. There's a lot of opportunities throughout the year to comment, to volunteer, to come in. Too many to really list here. We have a representative school board that I think the community is comfortable going to and talking to. If I were to change anything, I would think that we need more community events that are not necessarily athletically driven. I know that we do one play, and of course there's like music concerts throughout the year, but I feel like we're missing something. We're very athletic driven, which is fine, but I feel like we need to bring other things in. So I would also do a beginning of the year survey that is tailored just to Cheney and Cheney students' needs. And it would, I think, help in the future of how we're developing. Talking about public opinion surveys, we give the Communities That Care survey, which is it's given to students, parents, staff. And they're just very broad questions. It's very hard to read the data. It's usable data, but I think going back and tailoring a survey more to the needs of our students, it needs to be done as well. And it could be done on that first orientation night. I'm the Career and Technology Education Coordinator, so we have our advisory council every big meeting every year we have 18 pathways, and so their representatives come, and I always give a survey of it. Learning about different industry needs and things along those lines. And of course, we just did the really big school closure survey right before we started our online learning that we're doing now. We sent out a mass survey to learn, about what kind of resources do you have at home, those kind of things, where you need food. So that is a big way that we've done public opinion surveys. And hopefully, realizing the magnitude of response we had on that one, hopefully we'll be able to utilize something like that again in the future. Thanks.